Chenin Blanc is definitely South Africa's sweetheart. I mean, it comes from France originally, but eventually we ended up producing much more Chenin Blanc than anyone else in the world, and that became our flagship. So it takes an international team of winemakers like Radford, a bit Australian, a bit French, a bit South African, a bit from all around the world, to create and to identify the identity of Stellenbosch. We are now Vinum or Vinum. I say Vinum, that's my French side. She says Vinum. 2019 Chenin Blanc, Stellenbosch origin. What do you say about it, Cathy?
The wine is beautifully light, pale straw in the glass. On the nose, I'm getting spiciness from a little bit of oak. I believe they have some oak in this wine, but it would probably be old. And then I'm getting that Granny Smith apple that we spoke about earlier, which is often the hallmark of Chenin when it's grown and picked relatively young.
I mean, you find that more in cool climate usually than in South Africa, but it's clearly on this wine, yeah.
On this wine. Are you getting a little bit of pear as well? I'm getting pear. Not peach, pear on this. And then
but there's an aromatic pear, almost like the William pear.
Yes,
Yeah,
William,
yes.
that's it.
William pear.
And on the palate, you get the apple, the pear, that beautiful mouth-filling acidity that you get from Chenin, which is different to the Riesling acidity or the Sauvignon Blanc acidity, which I find are more rapier-like or more linear, and they travel right down your palate in one fell swoop, whereas this just comes in like a wave comes across to shore.
But you can't stop it.
You can stop it, you can surf it. And this to me has a wonderful pithy character as well, almost like the peels of an apple, a little bit of a phenolic to it as well.
And am I wrong to say I find a touch of salinity on the finish on this one?
I'm getting a little bit of saltiness on the finish as well.
Because it's very low alcohol. We look at 11.5 on the label, which for SS standard is extremely low. And usually avoiding more maturity on wine gives shorter wines because you don't have this body built by the alcohol, this almost sweetness that the alcohol is bringing. But here, on the contrary, we still have this length and a fairly round body on the middle palate. It's not, I mean, you said the acidity is rolling like a wave, but the acidity is very well balanced by the body of the wine. And there's no inherent sweetness to the wine. We're bone dry. We can see that on the finish. But the middle palate shows more amplitude.
Yes, that's a very good word. It doesn't fade. It actually just extends. So amplitude is a really good word to describe it. And you know, it's very interesting, that discussion about how do we get lower alcohol wines and yet retain our body in our wine. I must say that one of the pointers for me whenever I'm tasting a New World wine is that, what does Edouard Lebay use the word? Sucrosité. And I have a new one for Edouard. I call it frucrosité. Because
for the one who don't know, Edouard is one of the French winemaker and partner in Radford, and he made English is a new language. There's
Absolutely.
a new definition of English with Edouard.
Usually when we take friends to see Edouard, I have to translate. English to English people can understand. But this frucrosity you're not getting here. Frucrosity for me is just that element of fruitfulness that wines seem to show when they're grown in warmer climates. And this is not speaking to me of fruit. It's got fruit flavors, certainly, but the wine is drier and more elegant, and I think the better for it.
It's a very good balance on this wine. And I mean, Chenin is very South African. It's got a strong identity, Stellenbosch as well. But still, I'm sorry being so French here, I'm not looking at something like Vouvray, but something maybe on a rounder soil, You know, if we have to compare that on a blind tasting, something like a Saumur Blanc, you know, a riper style of Chenin, or more Anjou,
More Anjou-ish.
more Anjou style.
Yes.
Less lime in the stone, but showing its roots by the length of the wine. It's a very long wine. I still talk and talk and talk, and I can still feel it makes me salivate. That's where I find this salinity, not the acidity, the salinity
The salinity.
on the finish.
And Chenin is one of those wines that is built on acid. As in, you would not say that Chardonnay is built on acid, but Riesling, Sauvignon, and Chenin are for me built on acid. Chardonnay, Marsanne, Roussanne maybe are built on body and viscosity,
Oiliness and viscosity.
texture. And that's also something to remember. Sometimes wines give you clues when they're in the glass. Others, all the clues are in the nose, and then more wines give you all the clues on the palate. So you've really got to think about all the elements in the wine when you're tasting it.
Yeah, but one of the clues here is there's almost some viscosity on a wine, which 11.5 alcohol, usually you find very little tears. The wine is almost moving faster in the glass. There's a bit of viscosity, which shows that there's body in that one, because there's no sugar.
Absolutely.
Definitely no sucrosity.
No
like Edouard
sucrosity.
said. Thank you, Cathy.